Mark Thompson. It's always good to see the Reverend Mark Thompson make it plain.
Yes, sir. Good to be here.
So Mark, let's first of all, I want to go back and talk about just a little bit about Yusef Salaam because that was a big win in New York. Was it surprising at all that he was able to pull that out?
No, Yusef is a good brother. He campaigned hard. He didn't rely upon simply his name recognition,
right?
Or the unfortunate nature of his celebrity. It's something he wanted to do. He wants to serve the people. Harlem is starving for politicians like that, and this is a genuine brother. And I tell you, I've talked about this before. We all know people call us every day. I want to run for office. I'm gonna run for U.S. Senate. So slow down, slow down. You know, you got to start somewhere. You know, and he did that. And I think people appreciate that. You start at the ground, and frankly, some of these local races are most important. I think he's going to be great. Harlem's blessed to have him. But the beauty of it is to go from someone who Donald Trump wanted to have the death penalty applied to,
right,
to now being member of city council. I think the sky's the limit. He can do this. He can keep on moving up.
Didn't he announce when Trump was indicted in New York, or was at the court in New York?
I believe so. Yeah. I think he made that announcement. All of that was perfectly timed, providentially timed, and now he wins as we're hearing the latest Trump tapes,
right?
Which is the most self-indicting. I mean, this is probably worse than Nixon's tapes. I mean, and Nixon's tapes weren't self-indicting enough, but
right.
Trump, I mean, it's literally say you didn't hear Nixon say, "I know I'm committing a crime. Don't tell anybody." Trump is saying, "I'm showing y'all classified documents. I'm not supposed to be showing you. I can't be classified." It's also clear. Where did you get the tape? You know what that means? All of those people who in that room have been questioned by the special counsel.
Yes,
they can testify. The only person that can defend Trump is Trump himself. Is he going to take the stand? I mean, that would be awful.
Yeah,
if he did that. He's done. He's not a very smart man. He should have cut the deal.
We talked to, and I think he was with us the last time on the program. We talked to Attorney Robert Tarver, and we talked about whether or not you put Trump on the stand. You can't do that, right?
No, you can't. I mean, and his attorneys would be wise not to do it, but they're not. They can't control him.
Yeah, he's
going to do whatever he wants to do. I mean, the judge might have to intervene and say, "Look, dude, I don't know if you." And judges do that.
Yeah,
they call him and say, "Look at." He's in serious trouble. The question is whether or not the justice system is going to exact upon him fairly what is exacted upon him. Who in the history of the world has ever been charged with spying and not going to jail?
Well, here's the thing. So the ex-military person, can't call his name right now, just last week was sentenced to 12 years or something like that?
Right. I can't think
for a similar crime.
That's right. And not as much, not the
volume. Right.
So I don't know how you get around that. Now, what I predict is probably going to happen. Biden will be forced politically to commute a pardon. Because that's that presidential club. That's that presidential club.
I said the same thing. And folks said, no way Biden's going to do that. But I can't see under... Now, Trump, if you turn it around, I believe Trump would allow a former president to go to prison.
Yeah, maybe. But that's its own club. Mm-hmm. And they all kind of look out for each other. At the end of the day, you have to look at it and say, well, if I let this happen to my predecessor, then it'll happen to my successor. Mm-hmm. And that's the danger in all of this. And really, this is the fall of the Republicans. They have broken this system.
Right.
Where, even after Nixon, things went on that could have caused a lot more drama. And Nixon, nobody like Nixon. But, there was still, he was pardoned. When Carter came in,
right,
he commuted the sentences, I think, of Ehrlichman and one or two other people. I mean, that's just what it is. That's just how their system works. I don't always agree with it, but it's broken. It's irreparably harmed. I was just thinking the other day about something Clinton said when he coined the phrase, the politics of personal destruction. They've been doing that, and they've been doing it for decades. They won't stop. And then those chickens ultimately come home to roost, and now they have.
Well, and you see that with the, like you said, particularly with the Republican Party, right? How far do they let this go?
I don't know. They all seem beholden to him. just after the Fox Dominion settlement, you saw maybe there was an opening for them to break free. It looks like, and I mean, lawyers and corporate lawyers at Powers, they told Ruben, you got to settle this.
Yeah.
You can't go to trial because you will not survive. They got up in the morning and said, you are going to settle this today. They had no choice, Stacey. And you thought maybe, well, maybe this is maybe some reality is setting in. You can't risk everything. Why don't I be a billionaire and lose money off Donald Trump?
Right,
Why would I even put that? I mean, is he really worth that? But now he's creeping back into it. And unfortunately, the bench, those who are going to run in the primary against him, they still don't have the pull that he has. And even if he weren't there, that ain't a great field.
Right.
Even if there was no Donald Trump, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott's campaign ended, y'all, on The View. It officially ended. Somebody who didn't see that called me and said, "We think Tim Scott." I said, "You didn't see The View?" They said, "No, that campaign ended today. It ended. That was such a poor performance."
We talked about, speaking of Tim Scott, and not to jump all over the place, but we were talking about Tim Scott, Michael Harriot, right. Sure you know
good
well,
friend.
Wrote a beautiful op-ed today in the Grio. It's about the African American Museum in South Carolina.
Yeah.
But his point was, if you want to see it, it's just open, but if you want to see it, you have to see it now, because all of this attack on Black history and American history, period. And he mentioned Tim Scott, he's the same, he's the party line, right? We don't want to teach this. He says that, how does white kids feel? Tim Scott says this, when you telling them that their ancestors enslaved your ancestors and things of that nature. Does he believe that? Does people like that really believe what they say? Does Tim Scott, does Clarence Thomas, do they really believe this?
They do. I mean, we have to believe they believe it, Stacey, because it's been documented in our history. Carter G. Woodson told us this. So if we believe and respect Carter G. Woodson, it's true. I know we may not want to accept it because we're just not like that. And we don't hang out with people like that. But that is who Clarence Thomas is, who he is. That's why they picked him.
Right.
That's why Tim Scott has been picked. They have been picked for that purpose. Sell out Uncle Tom's. And it's I say it a lot of times and it's funny, but I mean, as Dr. Francis Cress Welsing taught us as well, that's a condition. It's a malignancy.
Right.
And it is a result. I mean, that's why that museum is important. There needs to be, we're here in Nashville, by the way, folks.
Yep.
Whatever y'all do, come to Nashville and see this music. Did that not blow us? Oh, that museum is the National Museum of African American Music, blows everybody away. And it really was great. We almost maybe we ought to build our own museum of Uncle Tom. So people can see the level of illness that's out here, lest people, buy into it. And I mean, we all, unfortunately, negotiating America, negotiating our employment, everybody sells out a little bit every day, but they go to the extreme. We've got to create an environment and a culture within our people, get back to the place where we are not selling out at all.
I mean, I got to ask you this too, I want to talk more about Tennessee and being here in Tennessee. This is your Nashville, this is your hometown.
That's where I grew up. I was not born here. My mom was a senior at Howard, so I'm like I guess a triple Howard alum. I was at Howard. A Howard student gave birth to me at Howard University. I was born on the campus, and I went back to go to graduate school. But my mom brought me back here to Nashville to raise me, and that was another blessing. Being raised here, Nashville is an HBCU town.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nashville is called Music City because the Fisk Jubilee Singers went to perform before the recently deceased Queen Elizabeth's great-great-grandmother, Queen Victoria. And she was so enthralled by the music. She said, Nashville must be a music city. And then she gave them money to build Fisk University and build Jubilee Hall. And so other folks kind of took Music City and made it for something else. Growing up here in Nashville, growing up in the HBCU environment, my mom worked at Fisk for about 30 years before her. My grandfather was director of admissions at Fisk. My whole family either went to Fisk, Tennessee State, and Meharry.
Right.
My grandfather, Tennessee State class of 33. My grandmother, Tennessee State class of 35. So my roots are here. But being in that environment, almost never touched this side of town, the country music side of town. But as I got older, I learned, you go in the Museum of Music, folks, of National Museum of African American Music, you see our history. and how all music evolves from us. The instruments that they use in country music, the banjo, that comes from Africa.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I got a little bit older when I had, when you're young, you probably realize this too. Folks, when we're young, young people don't really appreciate the blues.
Oh,
As you get older, you start listening to
Absolutely.
blues, say blues starts hit a little different because they telling stories about your life. You had some experience, had your heart broken. Country music is white folks blues.
Yeah.
That's all it is. White folks, that's their version of the blues. So everything comes from us. And so being here in Nashville, it's interesting to be here. It's interesting to have a more mature perspective about what's going on. And it's definitely interesting to go to that museum and learn more about the music. But no, this is where I grew up. And as you said, I was here. I came back to support the two Justins and Gloria Johnson for that matter. You know, we focus on the two Justins because they were expelled, but Gloria Johnson,
very important.
Gloria Johnson, yeah. And you know, there's a lot, you know, we all have a lot. I was in my 20s. I had to learn a lot. Gloria in her 20s, and she has done a good job mentoring those young men and kind of showing some guidance in her experience. That counts coming from her. I know that the NNPA 2023 convention, Dr. Chavis is going to honor the two Justins.
Yep. You MC.
Am I?
Well, I'm assuming that.
I
He was MC last night, folks, at the reception. And I mean, you always do a great job of doing that. This is not the first time you've been called on by the NNPA.
Well, look, this, as your viewers probably know, I mean, this is a convention. A lot of these conventions, I get asked to do stuff at the last minute, so I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing that or not. You might be the MC.
But I tell you what, last night was I don't know if you, because you've been so busy with stuff here, I don't know if you caught on why it's also a great morning for Mark Thompson, your New York Yankees. Perfect game, and it was a picture of color.
That's right.
Young guy.
That's right.
Severino.
Yeah, that's very. It's only happened 24 times in the history of Major League Baseball.
Yep.
And every season, the Yankees have had a perfect game. They have won the World Series.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Every season.
So David Cone was David Wells. Which one was the last? David Wells or Cone? Which one?
I think it was Wells.
Okay, because Gooden threw a no-hitter for the Yankees, but it wasn't a perfect game. But they won that year, right? 96. It was 96. That was the first of that new dynasty.
They did win, but it's been guaranteed every year. There's been a perfect game. They've won the World Series.
Wow.
Beginning with Don Larson's game in the World Series. And a lot of people, people who don't know baseball, got no difference between a perfect game and a no-hitter.
Yeah, well,
folks, and this when you explain it, folks, a perfect game,
27 up,
no one
27 down
at all reaches first base.
Nope. And whether
not
it's
on a walk or error, is not you do not reach first base. It's a phenomenal thing. And so happy for the young brother, happy for the Yankees. You know, we still got a tough road to hoe because we have so many injuries.
Yeah,
Judge is injured, and that concerns me because I wonder, the injury that we're told he had. I think it's something a little bit more serious going on. That would be a shame because that young man has a career. He has and really could break and set a lot of records.
Yeah.
And it's
legitimate.
I see you went there. No, but I think that's what. That's what baseball wants. They want a legitimate person to do it.
Well, and I say that, and it may sound a little hypocritical, if you will, but I'm the biggest Barry Bonds fan there is.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Although I know his feelings on the Yankees had never changed throughout his career. He and Ken Griffey Jr. was the same way, for whatever reason. But we had a beautiful interview with Sam Pollard. He directed the League, which is about the Negro Leagues.
Right.
New documentary that's debuting next week.
Actually. Okay, good.
And we talked about, one of the things I mentioned to him was, who was the greatest. And see, in my mind, and as controversial as it is, you could put Willie Mays number 1, Barry Bonds number 2, or the other way around. Either way, I'm happy with it. I think that you're talking about two athletes who transcended the sport in a lot of ways. Willie doesn't get the credit, although he's a Hall of Famer. People love Willie Mays. He still falls short of getting the credit he deserves. You know why?
Why?
One reason why. All 3 stadiums he played in as his home stadium in his career. I always use this as part of my measuring stick. The Polo Grounds, Candlestick Park, and Shea Stadium. At the time, the 3 most difficult places to play center field and the most difficult places to hit a home run. Willie hit 660 home runs played the best center field you could ever hope to play, and stole what 400 bases or so. The greatest, hit over 300. Now I know you differ.
Yes, the greatest was Hank Aaron.
Hank Aaron.
County Stadium was even more difficult than all the stadiums.
But didn't he play in Fulton County Stadium as well?
Well, yeah, for part of it, but that was toward the end. You know, he was in County Stadium all those years. And Willie got the credit while he played because he played in New York.
He did.
And New York was a big media town. Hank was unnoticed. People were rooting for Willie to break Babe Ruth's record if anybody was going to break it because he was in New York. He lost those couple of seasons in the military.
Yep.
And Willie, you know, I respect Willie, but he was pretty much a non-controversial guy. Hank was speaking out.
Well,
like
right.
Jackie
Now,
Robinson.
That's for certain.
And you know, my dad used to put it this way. He would say, "Son, white folks woke up one morning and read the paper and saw Hank Aaron had 700 home runs and lost them out. He like snuck up on everybody. Nobody knew. That's what I'm saying. Like, wait a minute, where did he get 700 home runs? It just looked up and he had it. By the time Hank Aaron retired, he held or tied 21 major league records. Wow. Nobody's ever done that. Well, hit 300 over a career. And I mean, and the last thing I did, what makes Hank great, that's not anything in Willie. You know, it's tough to get in these debates about who's the greatest because the eras are different, the circumstances.
Yeah.
And I got in a debate with a friend here from Nashville, like looks like a brother to me, about whether or not Michael Jordan was the greatest NBA player. It's even hard in the NBA because each era is different. And I say, of course, he's great, but I mean, you can't discount what others did.
Bill Russell, 13 titles.
I've read all of that. But here's what's important to always remember about Hank Aaron. And you know, I like Barry. I respect him. He was a great ball player. You know, if he did enhance, you know, I have a problem with that because that's black on black crime. That record that Hank Aaron broke and set was sacred. That was the moment. It was right here when I was a little boy at 7 years old, watching my mother's television in the living room when I saw Hank Aaron hit number 715. And it was at that moment, we were no black president. We didn't even think about no black president. But when Hank Aaron broke the most sacred record in sports, that's the very moment I'll never forget that I knew I could be anything I ever wanted to be.
Do you know that was also, I ranked that as one of the scariest moments in the history of baseball. You know why?
Right.
If you remember when he broke the record at Fulton County Stadium,
that's right.
Running around the bases,
that's right.
What
that's
happened?
Right. That's right. People ran on the field.
These white guys.
That's right. They should.
Right. And they're unabated.
That's right.
He between second base and shortstop.
That's right.
As he rounded the bases, they accosted him. But it was a good thing that they didn't mean any harm.
Yeah, it was a blessing. And he had there was a guy who was with him. There was an armed officer. Nobody knew it. But think about this. Hank Aaron had 3,771 hits.
Good Lord, I didn't know that.
He's third. Ty Cobb. No, I'm sorry. Pete Rose, Ty Cobb, Stan Musial, Hank Aaron. When Hank Aaron retired, he was number 3 behind Cobb and Musial. 3,771 hits, 755 home runs, Stacy. You take away every home run, he still hit 3,000 hits.
Right.
So no, that's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, that is mind-boggling. Okay, we'll go back to politics though, because I wanted to ask you. They're making a big thing now. You know, President Biden's 80 years old. Yeah. Sleep apnea. It's come out now. He sleeps with a CPAP machine, but the White House says he's been sleeping with that since 2008. But now it's a deal. Is that a concern at all? And how do voters see that? You already have folks saying all of them are too old. Trump is too old. Yeah. Biden's too old.
Yeah. Well, it says something about the path to succession. You know, it's funny talking with another organization. Frankly, we know what happens in our black organizations and in our churches. Folk die in office. We don't know how to pass on, and we rely on singular charismatic leadership. Dr. King passes, the SCLC goes down. All our organizations. You look at our organization. You probably name an organization led by a black leader today who's singular and charismatic. Something happens to them. What happens to the organization? Well, like it's not just true for us; it's true for white folk too. All right. So I mean, that's a human thing,
right?
Got to figure that out. You know, I think people do have cause for concern. Now, I don't think that his physicians and his wife, I think they have sense enough to know that, wait a minute, this is too dangerous. sleep apnea, CPAP machines are more common than ever. I didn't know that. I've been learning
Right,
that over the
right.
years. My mother had one before she passed away, and that was not even the cause of her death.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there are ways to deal with that. Biden still has some skills.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he still has some cognition. I mean, we saw it at State of the Union.
Right.
That's the funny thing about if you're in one of your family that has dementia, and I'm not saying he does, but it's the short term, not the long term. So when
Right.
Biden's in that element, when he got on the floor, he was in his element.
Right.
You saw Tony Bennett on 60 Minutes
Right.
sitting in the room, and he got on stage. All the music comes back.
That's true.
And McCarthy and them like, no, leave that dude alone. He's at home here. Don't mess with him here. You got to take him. So you never seen, it was like Prime Minister's Question Time in Britain. So I think there's some things there. And frankly, at this hour, what's the bench look like?
Right.
The shame of it is this, though. A runway should have been built for Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not Biden's team. And I know this just from inside. Biden's team was unwilling to build that runway. Remember, we had to force that team to pick Kamala Harris.
Right, right.
And under normal circumstances, somebody who they actually supported, maybe Biden could retire. They would have someone ready, but they didn't want the sister. And so that's a problem. But at this hour, next to Trump, Biden is not just the best choice, he's the only choice.
So Kamala Harris, you mentioned Biden's team, but he had vowed to pick a Black woman vice president, right? And his list included Barbara Lee and others, right? Sheila Jackson Lee was on that list, actually.
Right.
With that, looking back, do you think any of those other potential candidates for vice presidency, all Black women, would have gotten the same treatment as Kamala?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. Because and then we looked at how the media treated her. I mean, a Black woman is a Black woman, and in fact, some might have been treated even worse. So yeah, I think that would have been the issue. So that is what it is. But
is there any legitimacy behind the criticism of the vice president? I mean, I personally haven't seen it, but perhaps you.
No, I haven't seen it. I think she's been sidelined, and frankly, I think there are those in the Biden White House who have also deliberately sidelined her. I've seen it up close.
Right.
One of my sources, said to me that she is being sidelined, that she is not being allowed to do what she needs to do, and that there are those in the suits in the White House who control things who are threatened by her. Now, remember, let's not forget, this was a very popular person.
Right.
She was up there with Hillary Clinton. They were calling her the female Barack Obama. Mm-hmm. Obama goes out there, remember, and falls apart when he sees it. He said, "It's the prettiest attorney general I've ever seen." And he had the problems. I mean, she was blowing everybody away. How you go from that to that overnight? Right. That's orchestrated.
Right.
You see, and so when you think about it, and you're insecure, remember, she was not their first choice of the Black women. Right. We had to make that happen because what did they say? They said she was too ambitious. So you're not going to disqualify her. You got to pick her now because you're not going to. You can't do that in the workplace. That's an HR violation. You can't say somebody's too ambitious. But they meant it. So they did see her as a threat as being too ambitious, and they've sidelined her because of it.
Real interesting.
I will say this though. I get some sense though that they're not going to be too dumb in this election process. Because let me tell y'all right now, the 2024 is going to boil down the road. And the two demographics that are deciding elections today are the African-American electorate and suburban college-educated white women. Yeah. We all knew, we as men knew that Roe was on the chopping block. Right. A lot of people didn't believe us, Stacey. Because we've been saying it on the chopping block since 1973 when nobody believed it. See, when we keep saying it, people say, well, like, y'all keep saying the sky's falling. It ain't happened yet. It ain't really going to happen. Then when it happened, all these women were like, oh my God. I mean, we've been telling y'all that. We've been telling y'all that as Black folk. It's gone. So when it happens, they weren't prepared. And now every election, even local, judicial elections, everything that has happened since Roe, Democrats have won and progressives have won because suburban college educated white women have flipped. And there are even new polls that show that suburban college educated white men are beginning to move. The Trump indictment is helping. And the more that comes out, watch this. When it becomes even more revealed that he didn't share classified information about Iraq, Iran, or whatever, but that some of the classified information he shared may have resulted in the deaths of U.S. operatives undercover and allied operatives. British Prime Minister was here me back. He said, "Man, you got this dude. He got hits on our people." Stacey, let's be real for a minute. Barack Obama calls us. He's leaving the White House. Stacey and Mark, come over here. Let me pack up some stuff. Let's take it with me. What we gonna do? We're gonna look at maybe some paintings, some china.
Right.
What we gonna do with classified documents? The only people that know what to do with classified documents, Stacey, are professional spies.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody watching us, including us, would know. Somebody brought a box of classified. Who would we call to sell them to? We don't know nobody in the universe. Now we know who to sell some hot paintings to,
Yeah.
but some classified documents,
Right.
only a professional spy knows what to do. And what's funny is people thought that Trump was boycotting Biden's inauguration. You know, the outgoing president rides in the car with the incoming. He was hanging back to pack the boxes personally. So I'm saying that when that story comes out even more,
yeah.
that their lives may have been put at risk or some lives lost because of what he did with that information, it's a wrap.
Well, so earlier you said Biden, and I agree with you, would almost be forced to issue some sort of pardon. But under those circumstances, suppose all that does come out, how do you pardon that?
Yeah, it's a presidential thing. That's what presidents do for each other. So I don't know how you get it right. Now I'm gonna say this though: the political problem is gonna be when it happens,
right? Because
if it's in the midst of an election, you know, you gotta weigh all of that,
right?
You know, if he's found guilty while they're in the middle of a presidential election, I mean, Biden still might not have a choice because people didn't say, well, he has an unfair man. I mean, I don't know. And also, I'm not clear on this. There are a couple of laws you can break that actually disqualify you for the presidency. And I don't know. I know insurrection is one. I don't know whether espionage,
right?
Is espionage one? Maybe it is.
I would imagine. So I don't know for certain.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that would have to be.
Yeah. And we don't know that the insurrection, that the special counsel.
Well, he's not done.
Yeah, we don't know.
They're still pulling in witnesses.
Look, if I'm Trump and they go get a dude who looks like this guy who has tried and locked up presidents of other countries in that script, I'm calling him before he even takes a job. What you want? I give up everything.
Right.
You know, I'll tell you where the UFOs are, whatever you want to know, because I don't want to do this. Trump's in serious trouble, and the country is too.
So he's got Georgia, and as you mentioned just now, he's got the special counsel still looking at the insurrection,
right?
And he's right in the crosshairs. Who is blowing the whistle on him? Because we talked earlier about the tape. Right. Somebody's blowing the whistle on him left and right. He's got. There's speculation that Mark Meadows is.
So the T is, I mean, it might even be members of his own family. And you know, there was a big story that came out in People magazine the other day, which people read more than anything else, that Carrie Lake from Arizona has moved into Mar-a-Lago and Melania is not seen there as much anymore. We don't know what's going on there.
What's going on there? Yeah.
So, you know, I hear that the Kushners are embarrassed by him, meaning Jared and Ivanka. It could be anyone. And look, nobody wants to go to jail.
Right.
Including his former staff and his family. And that's how they come forward, they squeeze you. Say, now, Jared and Ivanka, we know what's it. Oh, which you want to know?
Right.
Which one? They don't want it. You know, they want to live their lives.
Right.
He's on the downslope. He's at the end of his life. Why would you jeopardize your whole life and career?
It seems like many do, though, for him.
Huh?
It seems like many have jeopardized themselves for him.
Insane. Even with the record, that he don't pay nobody.
Yeah.
He don't take care,
including attorneys.
He don't reciprocate. He don't take care of people. He does not take care of people who go down for him. So I don't understand, you know, what it is. He's not that intoxicating as a cult leader.
Well, you know, all of these folks are now getting real time for that insurrection. Real time.
Yeah.
That's early on, we were a couple of months here, whatever, you know, fines. now they're getting 12 years,
Yeah,
15
yeah.
years,
It's no joke. It's no joke. It's no joke.
and there's no pardon.
No pardon. There's no pardon coming for that. But he's a president, so I think the sitting president might not have a choice but to pardon him, and he'll probably do something. So I'm just ready for that.
Right.
Now, if Biden doesn't do it, I'm like, well, that's some
Yeah.
real cojones. But I think the moral pressure will come.
Yeah. Well, before we let you go, Mark, got to talk about Rosetta Perry and the Tennessee Tribune. You mentioned, I heard you talk about this last night. The stores. She talked to me about. She's getting ready to open some condominiums. She is.
She's doing things.
And everyone in Nashville knows Rosetta Perry.
Well, the greatest honor for me, I haven't even posted on my social media yet. She asked me to dance at the party last night. So I danced with Rosetta Miller Perry. Her husband was a very famous Nashvilleian as well. And so she has a legacy, and she's doing a lot of great things, and we need more examples like that, and we need to learn. I mean, she's busy, but at some point somebody needs to sit down, and maybe it's you, to record her, to find out how she became one of the most successful Black women entrepreneurs in the country, and how she continues to do that, even at this stage in her life. She hasn't stopped. When you land in Nashville and go through the airport,
yes,
you see the Tennessee Tribune, and it has a storefront there. So she's doing that, and we need to learn more about that.
And she's Rosetta Perry. She's the publisher of the Tribune.
Right.
90 plus years old. She's still going strong. What a staff she has.
Yeah.
But she's always talked about getting young people involved.
That's right.
And she on her staff, she's got young ones, she's got older ones, but she also has high school interns.
That's right.
Teaching them the business.
Yep. We gotta, folks, we're here. We gotta support our own media, especially in this landscape when we're losing media every day. We're losing jobs in the so-called mainstream media. They're not as plentiful. And the mainstream media is giving way to a lot of false reporting.
Yep.
AI is going to take things, or we need our own publications, and we have to support our own publications. I was saying to somebody the other day, Joy Reid is the last African-American primetime cable show host we have. There's not even a hint on the horizon that there will be another one or there will be more anywhere. Don Lemon is gone. He gets set up, he gets taken out. We got to support the Black press. And so, one of the things that you're doing this digital show, we need more of that. We need to get more of these local papers to do it. We have the NNPA app. I'm glad to have played some small part in helping there, but we gotta do more. We want to build at some point a place where you go on the website, not only the app, and you just click a drop down. Let's go back to sports. Yeah. When you go to MLB.com or NFL.com or NBA.com, there's a drop down for every team. So imagine this. You go to blackpressusa.com and there's a drop down for all 200 Black newspapers.
That's incredible.
And you can go there because the local news is as important as the national news.
And we've seen that now, for sure.
Yeah. And you'll appreciate this, having, had a career in local and national media. See, I remember there was nothing more powerful than local Black radio. When I was on WOL, someone having the community, we can go on local radio and mobilize the community.
Right.
Miss Mamie's car got stolen. Go on the radio, that car got found. There was a good thing when Black radio went to syndication, Tom Joyner and others, but you lost that.
Yeah.
When it goes national, you don't have that direct input into the local. But the local Black press still have is the local papers. And now they have the resources where we can do podcasts and digital shows like Let It Be Known. So we want to build that and then have control. And then Rosetta Miller Perry sets the example. Wait a minute, not only can I do this, I can thrive off of it. I can create jobs for others off of it. People can live off of it and have incomes that are with livable wages. Have young people learn from the process. Have our HBCUs send those young people to intern to learn things. So folks, support your local Black press, your local. That is not a small thing. And for those who say, well, Black newspaper don't give me as much as other. Well, that's because you don't support it. If you support it, you keep buying the paper from the white people. That's money for the white people to build their institution. We have to stop with the white man's ice is colder. I know you didn't bring me on to carry on like this, but while I'm here, we got to cut that out. This is 2023. We're losing every day. We're about to lose affirmative action, most likely.
Yep.
So this is very, very serious. So, folks, we've got to support our Black news. Give something to them. Pay for them. Read them. Spread the word. Those were the papers that helped us get free, helped us get out of slavery. When we migrated from the South, and you couldn't find your loved ones, you had to go to Black newspaper.
Right.
My cousin Stacy came from Mississippi. I'm in Chicago. Where is he? Y'all had to put where did that's how we found one another. So these are sacred documents, and they still are. So we must support our own institutions. Please, Lord have mercy.
No better way to close. Thanks a whole lot.
Proud of you, brother, and the work that you're doing. Let it be known, and the dedication. Getting up every morning. I forgot how, because it would just be my, Kathy Hughes morning show on WL. I get up in the morning, host that show 6 to 10 a.m. And it just became, a natural thing. But when you ain't done it in a minute, and you get to be my age, and your body says, you gotta slow down a little bit. But no, what you're doing, support, let it be known, folks. This is building, and it is, it's limitless. The potential. Let it be known is great, but we ain't even getting all the resources poured in to let it be known that we could. Amen. But this is a template that the Atlanta Voices told me, Mark, we got a studio. Good. So let's let it be known in Atlanta or whatever. I mean, so we got to do this in the places. And this is a template. So congratulations to you and your wonderful team, Greer, Walker, your producer, who's I know mad at me because I'm not always able to get to him. But
Marshall, Greer Marshall.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Greer Marshall. Greer Marshall. So congratulations to you. This is very important. Folks, support the Black press. This is why we when you say to people we got 200 Black newspapers, we do?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should know that. Amen.
Thanks a whole lot, Mark. Thank you all for watching. We appreciate y'all.
Thank you.